Speaking of freedom, you can go
freedom.
to space.
Yeah, space. Why not? NASA hoping to launch a new era in space exploration and making 2026 the year astronauts head back toward the moon to start. Crew members are gearing up for a 10-day mission that gets them closer to the moon than any human has been in more than 50 years. The Artemis 2 flight won't land, but it will circle the moon and reveal parts of it we have never seen before. And if all goes as planned, the mission could launch as early as February. For insight into what's ahead and why it matters, we're joined by former NASA astronaut Leroy Chiao and CNN space and defense analyst Kristen Fisher. Good to see you both. Kristen, I want to start with you. Circling the moon, closer than we've been in decades, but I guess the major question is, can you just tell us why the United States hasn't gone back to the moon or even this close for so long, and why now?
How much time do you have, Omar? I mean, if you want to go way back, it really starts with how much political will and how much money does NASA have? NASA has proven time and time again that it can do incredible things if there is the political will and the money behind it. And for various reasons, various administrations and various members of Congress decided not to put NASA astronauts to not make that a priority anymore. And so what you're seeing now is the culmination of about a decade of concentrated work. But everybody at NASA has been wanting to go back to the moon ever since the last Apollo mission in 1972. So the reason they are not landing on the moon is because it is unbelievably technical. This is Artemis 2. It is paving the way for Artemis 3, which will be the first lunar landing. And Artemis 2, the one that could be launching as early as February, though I think it'll be more like March, will be orbiting the moon. And those astronauts, that four-person crew, Omar and Sarah, will be flying farther into space than any humans have ever flown from Earth.
Leroy, I'm gonna start with you because you have so many accolades. It's so neat. I just want to remind people what you have done. 229 days in space, and you were the first American to vote in a U.S. presidential election in 2004 in space, which I think is very, very cool. And you did so many spacewalks. I've lost count, like 5 or 6, something in that range. But who's counting? What's so different about the trip going to the moon now versus the Apollo missions that launched with just one rocket?
Well, sure. Back in the original Apollo program, that's what inspired me as a young boy to want to be like those guys and become an astronaut. Unfortunately for me, it did work out. But this is the first time since 1972, as was pointed out, that we're going to send humans around the moon or anywhere near the moon. And so it's a big deal. You know, we've kind of had to relearn how to do all those things. The exploration program in one form or another has been going since 2004. So 21 years, it's a long time. NASA's a different agency than it used to be. It's unfortunately, like all large organizations, they tend to get more bureaucratic and inefficient. Of course, the issue of budget and political will, those are huge factors too. And so this is a big deal because we're going to send humans farther from Earth than ever before. But technically, it's a fairly simple mission. It's actually less complex, if you will, than Apollo 8, which, you know, orbited the moon several times before coming back. This mission will basically won't orbit the moon. It'll go around the moon, come back to Earth, but it will test life support systems, thermal control systems, communications, all those things at those long ranges. So it's an important mission, and it's exciting that we are finally going to be sending humans back close to the moon.
And Kristen, you know, President Trump signed an executive order on space, essentially putting some firm dates on getting boots on the ground on the moon, doing so by 2028, which obviously would be sort of the next step after doing this orbit and observation. But is 2028 something that's realistic? I mean, what is the gap here between observing versus actually getting boots back on the ground?
Well, it's certainly ambitious, right? But if you talk to Jared Isaacman, NASA's brand new NASA administrator, it is possible if NASA takes some very big steps right now to make this happen. And, you know, remember, it was the first Trump administration that launched the entire Artemis program. The Biden administration kept it intact. And now here you have President Trump again in his second administration coming out with this very big executive order, putting these firm dates, landing by 2028, intended to beat China in its efforts to put Chinese taikonauts on the surface of the moon. And then by 2030, Sarah and Omar, this executive order says they want to have the initial components of a lunar base on the moon. That is what this executive order just laid out by President Trump. And so what you have here is a real difference between the Apollo program. This is so much more than flags and footprints. This is about building a base on the moon and having a permanent human presence on the surface of the moon.
Leroy, just really quickly, because we don't have a lot of time, can you give us one word to describe what it is like being in space for as long as you were?
I think the one word would be surreal, especially when you're outside doing a spacewalk. It's almost like you're in a dream. You know, am I really here?
Well, I'm jealous of your surreal dream.
Yeah.
Kristen Fisher,
We all
Leroy
are.
Chiao, thank you so much for joining us. We do appreciate it.